What is the largest religion in the West? To this, most answers will be either Christianity or atheism, or maybe even a joke about it being Islam. But those are all wrong. In actuality, the largest and most worshipped religion in the West is the so-called Western values. The West worships its ideology. It has created a cult of ideologism, but its God is a false one, only meant to make people give offerings and listen to its commands. This is best shown with how people talk about our democracy, even when putting aside any criticism or dislike for the democratic system one might have. Democracy is given an absurdly high status. It's like the head god of the modern ideologist pantheon. Any criticism or perceived attack is seen as evil heathenry, no matter how illogical or contradictory to reality it is. Democracy is seen as a fundamentally all-good force that mustn't be attacked or critiqued. The best current example of this is Bukele in El Salvador. He undoubtedly made the country better, yet people keep attacking him for being quote unquote undemocratic, which is for one untrue, and even if it was true, does it matter? Shouldn't discourse around the leader be centered on their ability to create a greater country for its people? And shouldn't the manner that they came to power be irrelevant as long as they serve the country when in power? The reason that that isn't the case is because of ideologism. When someone doesn't go through the set of rituals and doesn't seem to uphold the set of values it has, it means that they are doing heresy, and heresy is inherently an attack on the religion. Even if the so-called heresy is inherently something good, it's analogous to how Galileo was treated by the Catholic Church, being persecuted for going against the established doctrine. This modern ideological cult is backwards dogma, preventing better systems from taking the place of prevailing ones purely for the sake of dogmatic integrity, to preserve the current status quo, to not let the authorities that are be faced with any sort of challenge to their powers that might come from the inevitable turmoil of shifting systems in societal organization, even if the authorities themselves aren't true to their cult of ideologism. It is a cult propped up by well-intentioned believers, experimenting, trying to find a new better system, one that evolves with time, not staying static, being dynamic, trying to become optimized, until it was taken over by those who do not care for it, because they are not believers, but those who see it as the easiest and most effective mask to don for the purpose of hiding and maintaining their own power. Showing the facade of being able to follow self-fulfillment to the world, while hiding that they are the ones who control the world behind the scenes, luring people into the belief that the only way they could ever find self-fulfillment is to follow their facade and join their cult, and everyone who attacks it does so because they want to strip away their right and make them unable to choose their own future and thus their ability to find self-fulfillment. Creating masses of people that will willingly defend the cult from any threat, and thereby also the power of its leaders, because they believe the cult is crucial for them, which subsequently plays perfectly into the mindset of self-importance the cult employs to keep itself as a subject of mass worship. It asks the common man to know way more than the common man would ever reasonably know about the world, or to even have the care and desire for knowledge that would be required to attain it, and then it uses the obvious result of them not knowing it as an opportunity to driving them into its side, with an appeal to authority acting as reason why they logically should and why they should defend it. It is a cult of deceit, 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 used to conserve the status quo, because the status quo is verifiably incredibly flawed, insufficient, and inferior to others, but also what keeps the status quo of its leaders' wallets the best. It is the truest form of conservatism alive on this planet in this day and age. We must conserve this failed experiment, because it isn't actually a failed experiment. Just look, we have more money than the people who had more money than before we started down this journey. It is a doctrine of pure deceit, acting like they are conserving the status quo for the reason of it being the best status quo possible, while slowly and secretly changing the status quo for their own benefit in deceiving the masses that it is the same unbeatable status quo as always, wherein, actuality, the only status quo that has remained consistent being the ways of indoctrination in who is protected by the indoctrinated masses. The current system is one that is stagnant, held back by the rawest form of conservatism. We have this, and because of that, we must conserve it and think it's great. It is a demonstrably worse system than previous ones, by the fact that even though it is one cohabitating with the most peace, development, technological advancement, and many, many more beneficial factors the world has ever seen, the countless countries who have it implemented also have the lowest quality of the average person, most mental unwellness, immorality, and again, many, many more factors that drag it down. And you might ask the good question of why I attribute the bad ones as being linked to the current system and not the good ones. An oversimplified but accurate explanation for that is the negative ones are products of what the system promotes and maintains, what leads to those negative factors, with its aggrandization of individualism and such degenerate things. And for the good ones, it is because technology has always advanced, even in bad times, and it's a historically rare thing for so many things to be forgotten that it stops. And things like development and peace are simply just outcomes of it, as is shown in the regions of the world where Western ideologism isn't as large or as a thinner veil than what it is in its homeland, best exemplified by China, a nation which is undoubtedly growing fastly and vastly, yet not one with the cult at head in its helm. In short, the current system is one with so many obvious flaws to it that there is no good justification for it being kept around. It is one that has always been worse than alternatives, and now it is also one that has deteriorated into a shroud for conserving its leaders' power.